Welcome on in to BattleHawks post-game live here on Sports Hub STL, presented by HotShots, home of STL Sports since 1990, by Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken, and by DraftKings. The crown is yours. Joined by Judy Strawder, and this is a heartbreaker. Comes down to the game's final play as the St. Louis BattleHawks lose to the Arlington Renegades 30-15 on this Saturday afternoon. First time in franchise history that the BattleHawks have lost back-to-back games, and the first time after week 3 that they are 500 or worse. Judy, your main thoughts and takeaways from today's loss?
I have a lot, actually, just a lot. Just can't even believe that the game went the way that it went. I joined friends today to watch the game out and to hear diehard Battlehawk fans who I tailgate with every week who are just so into it. As the game went on, the momentum that was lost, after last week, it's just carrying over. One, I thought Max would have done significantly better than he did. But even on that last drive, I mean, the guy's putting his body out there. He's in it to win it. I don't know. And maybe he just wasn't prepared or ready. I don't know. I also think that we have a real problem when our defense and Rodrigo Blankenship are the only people that can put points on the board. That's a huge problem. I don't know. There was just so much going on in this game that was not good. Wait, though. Anthony backed in his challenge flag because it's kind of hard to say what turn the game would have even taken in the second quarter before we lost had Beck not put that challenge out and taken that that touchdown off the board. So I don't know. The game was a lot. There was so much going on in this game today.
It's really frustrating to see that after two really sharp games out of the gate this season for St. Louis, that when faced with top-tier defensive competition, the play becomes really sloppy. And with early struggles and starting off on their heels, turning over the ball on 2 of the first 3 possessions, they did it to themselves. This is the second consecutive game where they turned over the ball 4 times, 2 fumbles and 2 picks. And so that turnover bug, plus the loss of quarterback Manny Wilkins 4 plays into the game, that set them back. We could have been talking about a completely different narrative if they hadn't given up 24 points off of turnovers. There was really one defensive drive where they gave up, 3/4 the length of the field. Everything else was pretty well contained, I thought. But the turnover bug and then throwing Max Duggan into the fire really set them back. By the way, if you're watching here live on YouTube, thank you, first and foremost, for giving up part of your Saturday to spend time with me and Judy. Leave a comment. Let us know what you thought your main takeaways. Take a look at what Anthony C. says right here. I feel like I'm watching the Jeff Fisher Rams. I wish the challenge, the post before the last interception, that is the challenge that I wanted to talk about, Judy, because that 3rd and goal, you had heard the commentators say that they wanted Max Duggan to run the ball downfield. Instead, he targets Gary Jennings. And you could argue that there was holding or illegal contact before that play, but clock starts to wind down. There wasn't enough communication or rapid enough communication to head coach Anthony Becht. And so they try to throw it again, which leads to an 100-yard pick 6 by Jenny Harris, the 4th turnover of the game. Again, comes down to one play. We could have been talking about a completely different narrative and a come from behind win, but instead the margin was just so razor thin.
Well, it's funny that Anthony brought up the Rams because the Rams got brought up so much today in my group. We just kind of, I don't want to say that like we all feel like we're kind of falling apart, but we're definitely not where the expectations are for our team. And and I don't want to say that we're changing our mindset, but it just seems like we really need to redefine and get a purpose again because we look pretty lost on the field.
Look pretty lost. Mike O'Moran comments on YouTube, today was as angry as I've ever seen Coach Becht. And yes, interesting game to have him mic'd up and cue in the audio. A lot of F-bombs and curse words censored out there. Michael Moran says we need to enjoy defensive coordinator Donnie Abraham while we have him, because if Bruce Gradkowski can get an NFL job, it's only a matter of time before we see Donnie get some kind of gig. I was going to say
I agree.
about the special teams, mainly Rodrigo Blankenship, again, kicking multiple 50-plus yard field goals.
Yeah,
And Marquette
he's
King
the dude.
made his fame at the Oakland Raiders punting position way back in the day. He's kicking in this league for Arlington, did a great job. Special teams are a concern for me, particularly Ja'Cour Pearson fumbling on that kickoff return. You're already down 8-3 and setting yourself up to make a comeback drive. The defense, I will say, kept it within arm's length this entire game. And I thought played decent given the circumstances, but the metrics say, other than time of possession, we did not deserve to win this game. And in fact, being able to steal victory from the jaws of defeat would have been somewhat unearned and probably had a bitter taste, but they played really hard. Max Duggan was playing through an injury to his thumb. It was uninspiring to say the least, though. 3 turnovers in the first 16 minutes. Ain't going to get it done.
Yeah, I really hope that this game isn't what the definition of the rest of our season is, because again, so many things just happened that, you've already brought up so many things. I brought up things like, you could talk about the whole game. There was just so many. It could just get nitpicked all the way, because I literally cannot believe that this is what we put out there, that this is what the entire nation gets to see out of the BattleHawks. Because I mean, we're also known, for being we're elite in our play. We're elite with our fan base. We're just kind of, we're just awesome. But after today, we're not. And it's just really hard. It was really hard to watch today's game.
Where were you watching the game?
Murphy's on 21. They don't even actually open until 5:00 every day. But if there's ever a BattleHawks game on, they always open and host every BattleHawks watch party.
Yeah.
But my whole tailgate group came down and we all watched together.
Yeah. I saw, progress by starting, after they started on their heels and were down 16-6 or 16-3 rather. We saw a pretty methodical drive there in the second quarter, about 8 minutes off the clock, 14 plays, 56 yards, get Rodrigo in field goal position. They clawed back as much as they could, but they were very limited. We discussed this week how good Arlington was, and I think I've referred to them as Dallas a couple of times, but Arlington was good at defending the run, specifically between the tackles, and Jacob Sailors didn't have a whole lot of success on those running plays, but if you got him on the outside and on the fringes, they did pretty well. And Max Duggan also was able to use his legs quite a bit, but they really needed to grind out this Arlington defense, and they almost did. I think there are some good take. Yeah.
You just said it. Max used his legs quite a bit. That is the problem. We do not have a balanced attack at all. It's all run. And I had toyed around with bringing this up or not, but Bruce Gradkowski is gone, and we did back-to-back 7-3 seasons with him. Phil McGeegan's in. What if Phil's the problem? What if Phil doesn't have enough of a big picture outlook, and he's just so focused on the run game that's why the passing is lacking. It kind of that was my aha moment today, that what if it's Phil? What if it's McGeegan? I could be wrong.
They made a note on the broadcast that they opened the game, their scripting, very similar to what they did with DC. So it didn't seem like there was a lot of deviation from a plan that didn't work against the defenders last week in St. Louis. I am looking at this box score now, and the only player who had more than one catch was Frank Darby. Gary Jennings was a favorite target of Duggan. He was targeted 9 times but only 1 catch for 4 yards. So there, I guess, I don't want to say a lack of trust downfield, but we did see that really big long arm punt that was picked
Yeah.
off early. He was trying to probably bite off a little bit more than he can chew and threw under his receiver. But yeah, in a league that doesn't have a whole lot of inspiring quarterback play, and Manny Wilkins firmly in the middle of the group of quarterbacks and now gone with what appeared to be a right ankle injury, the onus is on Max Duggan. And now they're down to a 4th stringer backing him up. I forgot his name. I will pull it up, but he was out of Stephen F. Austin. Their Chevin Cordero wasn't available today. Trey Self out of Stephen F. Austin, the 4th stringer, would have been what they'd have gone with. So, yeah,
That's crazy to
I think
think.
there's
Our team is too elite for something like that. We're just, we have so much more to give and so much more to offer than what is out there right now.
Yeah. Mike O. Moran comments that Bruce got a little bit too pass happy last year, and that doomed us in the long run. And now our problem is we're too reliant on the run.
I agree.
I will let us all marinate on that. But first, got to give a shout out. Of course, BattleHawks Hub presented to you by HotShots, and then least famous recipe chicken with the new least famous recipe chicken BattleHawks box. You can score up to 30% off BattleHawks tickets, plus get 4 of their famous breast strips and a side of potato wedges for just $8.99. Only at least famous for chicken. Also, the main sponsor here on Sports Hub STL, we're very grateful for DraftKings. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app now and use code STL Sports. That's code STL Sports, all one word, STL Sports. For new customers, you play $5, get $50 in Pick 6 credits. Better payouts, bigger wins, only with Pick 6 from DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 and over. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. 1 per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable Pick 6 credits that expire in 14 days. Limited time offer. See terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
I want to thank you all for joining us here on BattleHawks Hub on this Saturday afternoon. We're talking about a 30-15 loss to the Arlington Renegades with Judy Strawder, #1 BattleHawks fan. Forgot to introduce her as such, but she is. And now, Judy, you're going to go into the Dome next Saturday, 6 o'clock kickoff against the Michigan Panthers. Probably more friendly, I don't want to say friendly, but more beatable competition. We've just faced 2 of the best defenses in the league, and now you get Michigan. What are we looking for? Main takeaways? Trying to get back above 500.
Well, we definitely have a chance against Michigan, and something that after you and I talked on Thursday about the Renegades, that they're kind of like that dark horse, and I didn't want to say, because I'm a very superstitious person, so I didn't want to jinx us, but they just kind of always like hang in it. And I was nervous a little bit about today, and would that be what they came out with? And that is what they came out with. And I think we all need to keep our eye on the Renegades for the rest of the season. Just saying, I think that they're a little bit of a dark horse. They're not your bright flashy stallions or anything like that, but I think the Renegades are a dark horse. I think but to talk about the Panthers this Saturday at 6 o'clock, I think that there's a chance. I wasn't thrilled with our quote unquote rebound, what we came out with today, but we have another chance to just, what are we going to do? I really think that this needs to be a huge comeback. That we need to make a statement, a stance. Like, this is what we're going to be coming on Saturday. This will be the turning point of our season if we're going to be an above 500 championship caliber team, or are we going to be Jeff Fisher and the Rams? This Saturday will tell it all.
We're definitely not Jeff Fisher and the St. Louis Rams of yore, but it is borderline blasphemous to think about the Battlehawks in those terms because all they've done is win. Maybe not win at all, but post, winning
Yeah,
records in each season that they've been out. So this is uncharted territory for all of us.
agreed. Agreed.
And to your point about Arlington, I mean, that is a great culture down there. I know Coach Stoops, having covered Oklahoma way back in the day. No, it's a good staff, and they've got very talented people, and probably the most consistent quarterback, Luis Perez. There, and you saw him a couple of times trying to bait the refs into calling roughing the passer, and actually got one late in the game. Didn't really, because he got a pick six thrown of his own, a couple plays later, so it didn't really impact the outcome of the game. But no, they have a very good program down there, and I think Stoops is one of the guys to do it if he want to help people achieve their dreams and get them back up to the NFL level. Mad respect for them. And you got chippy. Like this was a physical, contested game.
Very physical
No
game.
loss between either side, but that just shows how competitive they are.
Yes. And that is a great point that everybody laid it all out. The game wasn't over until it was over. And there were Hail Marys from both sides, the way that the challenge flags were thrown, and still cannot believe Beck got his one before the holding call before halftime. But it was a very, very, very physical game. Just there was a point where a couple it was one of the last plays with Max, and he did this, I don't know, crazy loop flip. And I was like, man, I can't believe he just got up and still played after that.
Yeah, on that final drive, about 36 seconds left,
Yes.
he tried to go over the top on 1st and goal. He got clipped at the ankles, and then as he's somersaulting forwards, also got hit as well. And that's the law of gravity, man. That's terrible.
I know. And then he gets up and he plays, and then he even, tries to tackle him that last drive. It was very, very physical game. It was crazy.
The European mind could not comprehend that. So Manny Wilkins, we're still waiting on an injury update from him, but went down non-contact, favoring his right ankle, and had to be carted off the field. So this is, for the foreseeable future, Max Duggan's team. We saw, I think, probably his best throw on that final drive. They started out on the 47. He threw a 20-yard bullet to Frank Darby for a first down catch. Probably the good takeaway. Otherwise, there's still miles to go here. I know the upside is there, but there's a delicate balance between development. And we see this with the Cardinals right now, developing young talent and also winning now when the range of competition, the window is so small.
Yeah, actually, that game starts in 3 minutes. The Cardinals and the Mets. That was a tough loss last night too.
I was going to say I'm on baseball coverage as well this afternoon, so we will probably wrap it up here very shortly. Anything else? I mean, the week coming up, tailgating scene. Any final thoughts and plans that you've got for the folks in downtown St. Louis?
Well, I want to just keep saying that Rodrigo is the man. Like, he's the dude. That guy is lights out. He's amazing. I certainly hope that he gets to join us this week. I just adore him. He is quickly becoming a super fan favorite. Everybody just adores him. As far as tailgating goes this week, so I've got some parental responsibilities, a dance competition, so I actually won't get to tailgate. I'll just actually only be at the game. So no tailgating this week, but I am excited to see what we're gonna do on Saturday. Very, very interested. Really ready to put this one in the back pocket. Forget this game ever even happened, and move on, move forward. Very excited for that. I'm excited for the rest of the day, though. Also, we may have started out tough, but in 2 minutes, we're going to watch the Cardinals win. And then in 2 hours, we're going to have the puck drop, and the Blues are going to win. And then in 4 hours at 7 o'clock, the soccer ball is going to start getting kicked around, and City's going to win. So, I mean, today, it was all I talked about yesterday, that today is a huge sports day for St. Louis. And even though the rain is terrible here and I could, I need a life jacket to get around, everything's away. So we still get to have a super great, awesome sports day in St. Louis.
Never better to be a St. Louis sports fan. You've got the Blues and the President's Trophy winning Winnipeg Jets going at it. That's going to be a great game. Another footnote, because you mentioned we want Rodrigo. We will take anyone on the 53-man roster. A note that was reported late last night by ESPN is that the UFL players and league officials have agreed on a CBA, which would make them now eligible for health benefits year-round, retroactive to March, and also increase their salary this year by a few $1,000s and then start at a higher echelon, higher tier next year. So there is a framework in place to pay these players at a living wage and a professional wage rate. I think more synonymous with a NFL practice squad player type of salary framework. But for someone like Manny Wilkins, who just hurt himself.
Well, and Max in that play, Luke, I'm so happy that you brought that up, because that was something that we talked about, was that, dude, could you imagine if that happened to you in real life? And luckily that they do have this in place now. I'm thrilled for the players for that, because they're putting themselves on the line and their bodies on the line so we can bring home trophies.
The timing could not have been better. Still anticipating Hakeem Butler coming off of injured reserve as well. He was interviewed during the broadcast by Cole Kubelik. But yeah, that's great as we look ahead to the BattleHawks playing the Michigan Panthers next Saturday, 6 o'clock on Big ESPN. She's Judy Strawder. She's the #1 BattleHawks fan. I'm Luke Slabaugh. I love St. Louis. Forgot to mention that off the top. I am off my game today. But we got baseball coverage coming up this evening on STL, Sports Hub STL. And Judy, as we always do, last words.
Caw-caw!